You're watching The Shift Asia. I'm Frida Liu. Today, we're diving into a pressing issue. How ready are our cities for a hotter, more unpredictable world? Urban areas like the Klang Valley are already feeling the effects of rising temperatures and heat island impacts, but new data is giving us a clearer picture than ever before. For the first time, research funded by the Habitat Foundation and led by C40 reveals 30 years of satellite land surface temperature data showing how urban heat has evolved across the Klang Valley. And we'll explore how these insights can move from satellites to city streets, shaping smarter policies and ground-level actions for a more climate-resilient future. So joining me today, we have Justine Vaz, Executive Director of the Habitat Foundation, Murali Ram, Regional Director for East, Southeast Asia and Oceania at C40 Cities, Kang Chuen Siang, Senior Manager, Strategy Analytics at C40. So welcome, everyone. Okay, I know you're all here together as well talking about AlterCop30. So who's going to explain to me what is AlterCop30? Okay, Justine.
Okay, I thought Gabriel would be here. Okay, AlterCop30 is the accessible event which is held in parallel with the discussions on COP30 in Belém, in Brazil. It is a very, consequential meeting.
Okay.
We have had a series of COPs where promises have been suggested and pledges made, but very little has been fulfilled, right? Here in Malaysia, I think the AlterCop Malaysia is very focused on achievable things that we can do now, right? I think very much along the lines of no one is coming to save us. That's an empowering thing, right? We don't want to be damsels in distress. All of us have agency, and I think that AlterCop30 is bringing a combination of philanthropy, government, corporates, to find our solutions. If the cavalry comes, all well and good, but let's make our own plans now.
Okay, so it's an alternative to COP30. Okay, so Kang, let's start with the data, right? C40's research uses 30 years of satellite land surface temperature data. So what are some of the most striking trends or hotspots you've uncovered in the Klang Valley?
Yes, from the land surface temperature data derived from the Landsat satellite imagery, there is actually a few caveats that we need to understand first before I go into the analysis of the result.
You're a lawyer, right?
No, he's got a PhD, but he's got caveat.
So, we are using a satellite image from the space, taking photos from the space, and we are in a tropical country which we have cloud covers. So we don't always have a very clear image every day. And there is a 16 days orbit of the satellite. So ideally every 16 days we will have one data, but due to the cloud cover and atmospheric issues, we only can get data more days than that. And during the 30 plus years period, we got luckily 5 occasions that is cloud free. And we have analyzed those data. Based on the 5 years data, including 1990, 2001, 2015, 2021, and 2023. We can observe the rising of the highest temperature in Klang Valley is 2.9 degrees Celsius overall of the area. And interestingly, when we analyze the highest temperature above 30 degrees between 1990s and 2023, the area actually expands from 0.6% to 13.6%.
Wow.
And that expansion is actually following where the urban development is going. Like area like Sri Kembangan, Shah Alam, and Kepong. And
so we literally know where the hotspots are.
Yes. And another layer of analysis that we perform is we've tried to find out where are the areas that are 25 degrees and below. So in this case, the area actually shrunk from 33% to 26%. So we have lower temperature area, more higher temperature area. And in that higher temperature area, actually, they are also expanding of top 10% of temperature, say from 28 degrees to 30 degrees.
So you can say in the last 30 years, our average temperature of 28 has gone up to 30.
Yes. The top 10% of people living in a hotter temperature is increasing from 28 to 31 degrees. There is a margin of 3 degrees. Meaning that you are staying at the same point in 1990s where there was 28 degrees. Nowadays it is 31 degrees.
Okay, so the area that is lower temperature has shrunk, right?
Yeah.
Where are those areas? I want to consider buying those.
It is also following the urban development because of the clearance of vegetation areas. So basically, where we have green, the temperature will be lower.
Okay.
So when we cut off the greens, it is gone.
It's just common sense, right?
Yeah.
And so thanks for that. It's very revealing. I think that people need to be aware of it. I don't think enough people know about it. So Justine, so what motivated the Habitat Foundation to fund this research, and why was understanding urban heat such a priority for the Habitat Foundation?
Well, I think our prime focus over the years, and historically, I've been an advocate for urban green spaces and forest remnants in the Greater Klang Valley area. And that business of whether you like green or don't like green becomes a very it's very subjective whether you do or you don't. We have had for a long time an urban biodiversity initiative because we are very fortunate that the pockets of green, even in residential areas, still harbor significant biodiversity.
Okay.
Right. So we are, we're quite a green city. We have a huge benefit compared to other spaces in the world.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to be on the same page, right? And science is this common denominator where we, it is or it isn't, right? I can say when I used to line up to go to school in 1980 something, I thought it was colder.
Yes.
Right? But you can argue it's, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Let's just get the facts and let's all agree on the facts. And it should not be the greenies or the residential associations, knife battle on every street trying to prioritize urban green spaces. The urban green spaces are our big backup plan, right? They are our reserve and our insurance for when we need to really get mitigating effort. I mean, even now, they are still continuing to be champions of keeping temperatures more livable, not just for humans, but also for animals, right? So I believe that this is just a starting point. And I wish that this research had been funded by somebody else, but it's, I'll put the stone in. Let's make a soup out of it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I know the story. Okay. And let the facts speak for itself.
That's
right? I mean, thanks, sir. So Murali, from C40's regional perspective, how does what's happening in the Klang Valley compare to other cities in Asia when it comes to urban heat resistance?
Well, first, I think the urban heat island effect and the rising temperatures are a constant across the cities in the region.
Right.
The principal difference is how we're responding to it.
Okay.
So if we look at global north cities, the likes of Tokyo, Seoul, Melbourne, Sydney, they already have a very mature plan to address heat. When we look at Southeast Asian cities, we are kind of like in the infancy.
Okay.
So we are now, C40 is assisting Quezon City in the Philippines with the help of Carrier Foundation on mapping vulnerable communities that are exposed to extreme heat. And in Jakarta, we're doing a similar work funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. So right now, we are in this data gathering phase.
Okay.
And so we're really happy to note that Habitat Foundation is already starting something like this for Kuala Lumpur.
Right.
I think the principle, because we are at the infancy stage, at this point is really about awareness raising, getting city officers, public health officers, education, transport, to understand the negative effects of extreme heat, and then start talking about co-designing solutions to cater for the public, especially the vulnerable, the young, the schoolgoers, etc., when extreme heat events happen.
Right. And C40 actually is a conglomerate of what initially was 40 countries or 40 cities.
40 cities, now 100 cities around the world. We're a coalition of cities leading on climate action. And that's both mitigation and adaptation. It so happens that Kuala Lumpur is also one of our cities.
Okay, so when when people talk about how things have, heat has risen and all that, in the name of development, right? How do you? And I'm just this came to me, right? What do you say to that? When we say in the name of development, we got to start building more properties and building more things, right?
Well, there are two ways to. On one hand, on the development front, right? So there is a question around: do you need to build?
Yeah.
Right. And where do you build?
Okay.
So the argument for greater density, as opposed to sprawl.
Right. With better infrastructure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But with the sprawl, sometimes causes the deforestation that's happening and all that, which is why, from an urban planning perspective, there's a even the UN Habitat, etc. There's an advocacy for greater density and limiting your footprint. Right. So you have your green belts, etc. The second element is when you do build, how can you incorporate better greening practices within? So if you look at Singapore, Singapore's got I think it's called LUSH, LUSH, and they've got this this whole thing about increasing your green index or green density within the city. So when you do build, you have to put aside some space for greenery, both on the periphery as well as in the building itself. And hence you see when you go to Singapore, all these buildings with all this green stuff on the buildings, it's part of their cooling strategy. And it works. And it works. But beyond greening, there's also how do you play with shade? Like, so you understand shade, movement of the sun, walkways that you take advantage of the shades that the buildings provide. And there's also analysis around wind tunnels. So how are wind movements and how do you sort of, design in a way that that you create these wind corridors that help with cooling as well.
So Kang, when we talk about islands, it's not just about temperature, right? It's also about how it affects people. So what are the potential social or health implications for communities living in the hotter zones? And, I'm get Kang's perspective, but everyone else feel free to chip in as well.
Yep, absolutely. So urban heat is as much as a people issue than an environmental issue. So in a hotter zone, normally we will get very high social impacts, including the heat stress, dehydration, and also sometimes it will lead to cardiovascular stress. And it is highly impactful for outdoor workers, school children, like what Justine just mentioned. And then some lower income community also living in very high density areas who might have no capability to pay higher energy bills with air conditioning and etc. And at a community level, this prolonged heat will actually bring a lot of impacts to them, and limiting children and outdoor activities. So the social part of the children to meet with each other is lesser. It will have a very long impact down the road. So I think city actually we view this heat is not only environmental issues, but it is a social equity issue.
You talk about heat stroke and all this sort of thing, right? Heat is such, and this is, I've just been hearing a lot about this of late as well. Of course, what happens with our kids is they're all at the shopping malls. So Justine, how do you see this data being used to influence conservation or urban planning efforts, particularly protect the vulnerable communities and ecosystems?
So I have this analogy that, all of us has a role to play, right? So I think that those who are championing biodiversity, this is very meaningful to us. And I think, for us, fragmentation of habitat is a very serious concern. But if we can team up, because we're concerned about heat management and cooling down, just to help understand that, as Kang highlighted, it's a social and environmental justice issue. People who are advocates for people should be in the conversation. People who are in public health and also what needs to be done. Of course, the urban planners, the designerly, retro engineering solutions. Yes, that's all good. But I think that we are not Singapore. We are not a cinder block. We have solutions which are nature based, and it's actually absolutely critical. You already know the rapid pace of change, right? And unless there is courage in terms of doing the setting aside, it's going to cost you a lot more to fix the mistakes that can't be corrected, and also to cool when you could be banking on nature's natural ability to make our surroundings more livable. And so what we heartily believe is that let's start this conversation now, but let's see some real serious leadership. Cities and our governments, they really need to take the lead. Why can't KL be a leader in this particular, regionally? Why can't we be a leader?
I was speaking, I've had him on before, Dennis from Min Consult, and he was saying that in his office he just reduces the air conditioning, makes everyone wears batik shirts. So why should the temperatures be so high? Because that's not we don't normally go around in suits anyway, right? So simple things like that, which collectively we all think, like when we go to hotels and it's freezing, right? Why do you need to do that, right? So, and she was doing this to you, Murali.
Go back to you.
That's right. Cities often struggle to connect science with policy, right? So how can networks like C40 help local governments translate this kind of data into real, actionable climate strategies?
So we need to start with the data, and that's where Habitat Foundation and Pink City comes
We
in.
need more data.
Yeah,
This is
we
just
need
appetizer.
just appetizer.
Yeah.
So awareness first of all,
Yeah.
and then the type of data that you need to
Yes.
collect. So there's satellite data, and there's also ground truthing,
Right.
right? So then you can actually find out and where these hotspots are, etc. And then actually the designing of the solutions, the best practices, they are already out there, right? And so how can we best incorporate them into our sort of strategy? That is, I think, what is missing. So one thing, if I may, since you talked about heat wave, just 2 months ago, I was in Bangkok and I got a heat stroke because I had my boss and he said, oh, after the meeting, he said, let's go for a walk in the temple, right? And it was a tourist place. And within 2 hours, I was struggling and I had to go back, and it was quite a severe case of heat stroke.
Right.
But the thing is, there wasn't enough advisory. There wasn't enough, as to what to do and drinking water, staying in the shade, and there was not enough shade. So among the communities that would be affected is also the tourist community, not necessarily vulnerable communities themselves, but there are also communities out there that are working outside, hawkers, you've got outdoor workers, construction workers, school children and all that. Some, I think it was about 2 years ago, there was quite a severe heat wave in Malaysia, and we had I think several
it was a couple
deaths.
of months ago. Anyway,
There were several deaths. I think I forget how many, but there's some deaths. And and there were the hospitals were full of people who were checking in, not sure what's wrong with them, but they were all having these heat-related issues. Unfortunately, that happened and that's passed, but we haven't actually learned from that and to see, okay, this has happened. How do we respond the next time, right? So I think that one is something that we need to plug that gap. So some cities have already got like a heat response, just like flood response. You already start thinking about heat response. So when data shows, the meteorological Met department already have data as to projections. So how do cities react to that projection? Do we already call in level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever, and what does that mean? Okay, children don't go out and play and all
like
that.
the typhoons warnings,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Pretty much
It's the
like
same sort of methodology, but with heat. So there's data from a historical data. There's also projections, but how do we respond to that is what we need to do.
Okay, and I think we got to get better at our storytelling, right? What is it? When we give these data, we got because like we put this person's name, we put Murali's face, suffering from heat stroke, that kind of picture, then the emotional connection.
My thermostat not working that day.
Okay, so Kang, what are some specific urban interventions or design strategies that can help cool our cities, right? From green spaces to building materials to planning decisions. What are some things we can do?
I think, like you mentioned, there are 3 that I want to mention also. One is nature-based solution.
Okay.
Greening, planting more trees, and also green roof, green facade that we are also looking into. And then keeping the existing forests and green areas in the city is also very important. From our data analysis, from the satellite data analysis, actually Bukit Kiara, only the temperature of Bukit Kiara area only increased less than 2 degrees compared to the whole Klang Valley, which is about 3 degrees. So there's 1 degree difference between urban area and green area, which, okay, this is 1 degree, but it really makes the difference. When you go into in the forest or green areas, you can feel the cool. It will really help your health and etc.
Okay.
Secondly is going into materials such as sustainable materials design and also shaded public spaces that we can design for the users. And also thirdly is the community and government system to get all the relevant parties to have a same vision to design the action plan for heat for the city or even for nationwide in the same down the road. So our vision is actually to translate the climate vision into action plan. So that everyone is clear on how heat can cause the impact and how actually we can adapt or mitigate to this.
And I think even like you talk about building materials, right? I mean, back in the 70s, we had houses with this ventilation and we stopped building those, right? And then so we turned on our air conditioning instead, right? So I think even in where I'm living, we've done that to my house, and I live in a link house, but I've made space for 2 tall trees and lots of plants. My neighbors hate it, but who cares? Because the leaves keep on. But little things like that, which we sometimes just going back to how the kampong homes were, right? So anyway, Murali, right? What are some inspiring examples from other cities in the C40 network? We got 100 cities that Malaysia could learn from. Maybe not from Bangkok lah, but anyway.
Bangkok has Sponge City. That's great, right?
Tell me.
Yeah.
Well, many cities now have got a heat action plan.
Okay.
So, you start with data.
Okay.
And then what do you do with that data?
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yes.
So the heat action plan, depending on the city's peculiarities, then you can start designing the solutions and then have a rollout. And cities also now have appointed what they call a chief heat officer.
Oh.
Yeah, even in Quezon City,
Okay.
in the Philippines, they've got chief heat officer. Melbourne also has one, etc.
Heat officer.
Chief heat. So what happens is this person cuts across different departments.
Okay.
So heat becomes sort of a key subject matter. So
Okay.
what you're doing, how does that relate to heat stress reduction? So you have co-benefits, working with the road department, working with the housing department, health
Right.
department, whichever department,
Right.
whatever you're rolling out, the consideration of heat response needs to come in. Okay, so that's this kind of thing. So from there, then you can start designing solutions like, for instance, cool roofs.
Okay.
So this is about, in Mexico, they did this where they painted white roofs,
Okay.
right? And that made a marked difference
Huh.
in temperatures within the houses,
Right.
right? And it's a simple sort
Yeah.
of, but you
Yeah.
never see it.
Not rocket science.
It's not
but
rocket
yeah,
science.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that when you say rocket
I
science,
see.
that's why planes are white. To sort of, but it's a special material that they
Yeah,
use,
yeah,
but
okay,
you can
okay.
draw an analogy
Right,
from
right,
there.
right.
So cool roofs, and then cool streets, they call it. So cool streets is a combination of tree shading, also the material that you use
Okay.
for pavements, etc.
Right.
So it has to be more light covered, sort of light material,
Right.
rather than dark
Okay.
material. So it doesn't absorb as much and then radiate back.
So if you're not asphalt, what would it be?
It can be asphalt, but it can be asphalt painted.
Okay.
There are other asphalt substitutes
Okay.
also out there.
Right.
But we need to start looking into it. The thing is, right now, when you don't have that mandate, then you just fall back into the usual, let's go for asphalt, right? So these kind of things are the ones, innovations that are being piloted
Right.
from a heat response perspective. Separately, the chief heat officer and the heat heat action plan would also look into heat response. So we're
Okay.
talking about two things.
Okay.
One is the response part of it, early warning systems, cooling stations. So Melbourne has got cooling stations. When there's a heat wave, these things pop up.
Yep.
You can go there and have a water, have a rest,
Right.
and then there's fans and cooling. So
Yep.
you calm down, then you go back out.
Yep.
So there's this sort of things. In Japan also, they have it.
Okay.
Tokyo, Seoul, they all have these
Right.
heat response places. They've identified the hotspots areas and they set up these sort of stations.
Right.
So there's a response. But from a planning perspective, you can actually start building in. One more point, last one about
Sure.
the trees.
Yeah.
Planting trees is one thing, but we also need to think about what kind of trees we want to
Trees,
plant. So trees that have a canopy,
Yeah.
right? They give you that shade on a sort of a larger precinct level. But then we also need to talk about our pruning procedures
Management, yeah.
and management.
Yeah.
Often you see trees, beautiful trees,
And then uprooting the...
and then next thing you know, every 4 months it becomes a ball tree,
Right, right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then so we need to start really looking at the benefits that the trees can give you, and then what does that canopy look like that we want to maintain?
Right.
And it just takes a little bit more effort. And sorry to go back to Singapore, it's a simple thing, right?
Yeah.
You see how
Yeah.
they maintain their rain trees,
Yeah,
right? And that's a strategy.
yeah.
You know, how they maintain their rain trees in a way that it sort of meets, but it doesn't go in, and then they
Yeah.
prune it in such a way, and it gives you that sort of, and it's something that we can do. And typing does that brilliantly.
Yeah,
If you
okay.
go to that,
Okay.
the Lake Garden area,
Right.
etc.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, is it all this? And like when you go to Singapore, I'm just like, how does this little island look so big? And it's the trees, it's the whole field and everything, right? And I guess, Justine, like collaboration is key. What kind of partnerships or community-led actions do you hope to see emerge from this research and future work at the Habitat Foundation?
Yeah, I think that, well, AlterCop30, I will be moderating a panel. Murali and Kang will be attending, and also Aliyah from Selangor. SCAC stands for
Selangor Climate Adaptation
Center.
Okay.
So Selangor has a climate adaptation center.
Right.
So they've started the business of that. I think the conversation needs to be broader, but also more central, right? We shouldn't be doing sporadic efforts all over the place. There ought to be some sort of clearinghouse. I mean, I generally look at nature, we ought to be triaging from above, right? Where do we have, what can we keep? Let's book that in, and what we can add on, that's the next tier. If I was running things, that would be what I would do first. So essentially, where are the incentives? What incentives are you giving to city managers and councils to do this?
Right.
What support are you giving to them? They all need upskilling and training.
Right.
Universities should be brought into the conversation. We could do a lot more granular detail, building on what Think City has done. Think City is running a workshop also on 15th to provide some familiarity with the ground truthing stuff.
Right.
So I just wish, I would hope that there's a little bit of urgency.
Okay.
We have now in the 10 hottest years in living, in the past, in the modern age, last year being the worst of them.
Right.
And it was pretty horrid generally.
Right.
But we do have this shifting baseline syndrome, right?
Yeah.
I remember the first time we were engulfed in haze, and it was like dystopian.
Right.
But now we just think, oh yeah, it's the
Is that
haze.
time of year again?
We're so used to it. But this is an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And it should be addressed with that level of seriousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to conclude this with a question for all of you. I know as we look to the future, I guess, what does climate resilience personally mean to you, and what one change we would like to see implemented very quickly in the Klang Valley, not over the next 5 years, very quickly. Yeah.
Okay, stop. You look at me.
Look at you.
Well, to me, climate resilience is, for Klang Valley, is mainly adaptation to heat and to floods.
Okay.
These two things.
Right.
I think in both, we need better response management.
Okay. Better response management. We'll get to, because I would like the woman to have the final say.
Correct.
Yes.
So I think climate resilience to me in Klang Valley is actually, you need to protect the people.
Right.
We have to support the nature.
Okay.
And also we have to sustain the livelihood. So how to do this all is actually use the three things that I mentioned just now: nature-based solution, sustainable building materials, and also collaboration between partners, different partners.
Right.
Yep. And what I would like to see is, say, any new developments in Klang Valley will have a sustainable design. Like Murali mentioned, tracking the wind and sustainable building materials that not absorbing heat but reflecting heat to keep the building cooler in the sense of sustainability. Yep.
Okay. Justine.
Okay, I think so touching on what I said earlier, is we definitely need to improve the ratios of built and natural environment.
Right.
Through a variety of ways, but what we don't measure, we can't track.
Yeah.
Could we start doing that first? And we have so many wonderful technological tools at our disposal. And the second and the most important thing is transparency of data, right? And so we because we are mostly ignorant or uninformed, we aren't aware of how serious things are.
Yeah.
If we did, we would probably, that would probably light a fire under. So we do need to have this information, and it should be everyone's ability to track and see progress and measure their government on that, on how well they're performing in protecting everybody. The government has a duty of care.
Right.
And so this is how you bring science and people and managers and urban planners together.
Right. Light a fire figuratively.
I'm so sorry about all the analogies. Wrong.
It's not literally.
No fire.
Right. Thank you for sharing your insights, and this has been very eye-opening for me. And so thank you again for your time, because it's getting hot in here, and you've been watching the ship Asia.